Please welcome Head of Content Strategy, Diversity Marketing, AWS, Aileen Gemma Smith.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I am so excited to be here with you today and to share the next hour with you. My name is Aileen Gemma Smith. I serve as the Head of Content Strategy for Diversity Marketing here at AWS, and I've had the privilege of being with AWS for nearly 3 years, serving in evangelism, public sector, and now driving content strategy. Our team is focused on the intersection of tech and DEI and elevating and amplifying the stories of builders and solutions that are moving the needle. The work that we do can have profound impact on the world and drive real change. And that's why we're all here, and we are all in this together. So let's do this. We are on a shared journey with our customers. There's growing use and scale of AI globally. One of our newest leadership principles at Amazon is success and scale bring broad responsibility. And today is all about the power of responsibility. We recognize that we must all use and build AI responsibly, respecting human rights, dignity, and critical values of equity, privacy, and fairness. Our commitment to develop AI and machine learning in a responsible way is integral to how we build AI and ML services, engage with our customers, and deliver new innovation. As a customer-obsessed company, we focus on helping our customers untangle the complex questions that surround bias and fairness, explainability, robustness, security, transparency, privacy, and governance. We provide the tools, guidance, and resources that customers need to get started and help implement responsible AI across their organizations. And we continue to invest to build new services to meet the needs of our customers and make it easier for them to identify and mitigate bias, improve explainability, and help keep data private and secure. With more than 100,000 AWS machine learning customers building on over 20 years' experience at Amazon, customers trust AWS to deliver hands-on guidance and tools to transform responsible AI from theory to practice. We're working on this in our own organization as well. We're not only developing the capability for others, we're doing it for ourselves. Responsible AI starts with people and actions. Building diverse teams to design and develop AI brings more perspectives to the table to help promote fairness and to mitigate bias. It starts with education and doing our part to build the next generation of developers and data scientists, folks that may be sitting here in the audience today, or that are tuning in, or that are learning. This is for everyone. And I want to underscore that responsible AI is not work that you can do in a silo. It is truly a multidisciplinary effort of people. And that requires technology companies, policymakers, community groups, scientists, and more to come together to tackle new challenges as they arise. We are committed to improving, refining, and expanding our approach to responsible AI. The new services that we continue to build for ML are helping people at all levels. And we strive to constantly innovate and to constantly do more. We strive to create AI that works for people at all levels of expertise, at all levels of experience, so that everyone can do it. And we are continuing to work on this so that way that everyone can have access. For AWS, responsible AI is an integral part of the entire AI/ML lifecycle. It includes design, development, deployment, ongoing use. And let's lean into that. It's more than just design, develop, deploy. It's an iterative process, and it requires continuous testing and auditing for potential bias and inaccuracies. This becomes even more important as the pervasiveness of responsible AI will only grow, and that extends to the data that feeds our ML models. So our journey has phases. For each of the 4 phases of the responsible AI journey, there is an undercurrent, and it's a necessary component of driving things forward. And that undercurrent, folks, is trust. So much of the work that we all do and will continue to refine as we learn more and needs evolve is built by trust and how we continue to earn that trust. We believe that a differentiated approach to responsible AI is people-centric, action-oriented, it's iterative, and as I said before, it builds trust. A people-centric approach will focus on the people building the technology. And let me underscore this. The people, the builders, that matters. I stand before you today because I want to humanize a topic that is frequently misunderstood and intimidating. So, together, we can and we will make the world a better place. I believe that, and I hope that everyone here today believes that together we can. How we define it, how we are refining it, this is how we want to talk about the responsibility and the opportunity that big data and AI and ML bring for us. Because today, I want to focus on hope, and I want to focus on what is possible. How many folks here, this is not their first reInvent? Okay. Every single time you come to reInvent, it's new. What's possible? What are we putting out there that has pushed the boundaries of what you thought you could do or how difficult it is? And that's what today is about, on hope and on the possible. Because this is our moment for a movement, and a movement that's in a lot of ways already started. Consider all that's at stake with so many emerging opportunities. I want each and every one of us here to lean into the possible. Not that it's hard, and not that it's complex, and not that but in the possible and how we can drive things forward. My invitation to every single one of you today is to think about how we can shift and how we can bring things forward. There is so much opportunity, so much possible. So this is driven by why we must do this, as much as practical tips on how we're going to achieve it. So I want to frame how we're looking at this problem and the opportunity. And I'd like to baseline that with data. IDC forecasts that 90% of new enterprise applications will use AI by 2025. It's not that far away. Global spending on AI-based technologies will reach $204 billion, with a B,
by 2025, according to the IDC. So as adoption grows, so does the importance of using the technology responsibly. 76% of CEOs are most concerned about the potential for bias and a lack of transparency. And all of this matters for our experience, our shared experience, our human experience, and how we focus on people. We believe that AI should be human-centered. It should respect the rule of law and be built to preserve our shared values of equity, privacy, and inclusiveness. Because when we include underrepresented individuals, we're not just building for them, we are building with them. Diverse teams are critical in building AI technology that works for everyone. And this is something that I hope that folks here today will come away with and think about and remember. Responsible AI is not just a separate work stream off over here. It's integrated into the way in which we all do business. And that's why I want to come back to people. People drive decisions. Machines can make recommendations, but humans make decisions. And that, folks, that's our opportunity. Because I ask you, who has a seat at the table? How are we training them? And most importantly, what are they empowered to do? Empowering people to make informed decisions is mission critical to our work. And I want to talk about the importance of trust as we build out our teams. Because trust is foundational in how we move forward. And building trust means we're building together as people. So people are at the center of this. We're building with people, we're building together. Because with the right skills at the table, think about what's possible. And those skills aren't finite, they're not fixed. It's a constant sense of learning. It's a constant sense of pushing the edges of not only what is possible, but now, what do we need to think about given new complexities? And that's why diverse teams are integral to people-centered approaches to technology. You need a multidisciplinary approach to a multidisciplinary problem. And that's why we all need each other. People-centered design is a different kind of a mental model. This is all about what we can do together. Together, we can co-create. We can consider the outliers, because again, different folks are asking different questions. We can plan for impact. We're focusing on a holistic experience. And we balance human and business needs in order to derive the greatest value. So if the ultimate goal is to mitigate bias in AI and unlock value responsibly and equitably, then we think about an operating model of people and process and technology. And we think about how we're focused on building those right skills for our engineers, right? Because what happens in the world of possible when we combine strategic, operational, and technical considerations for employing ML technology services? We have an opportunity and a responsibility to each other in how we all move forward. I am very excited to announce today the launch of a new bias and fairness training from Machine Learning University. The same Amazon scientists who train our own AWS developers on machine learning are driving this. This new public training features 9 hours of step-by-step tutorials on how to identify and mitigate bias in your models that can arise during every single stage of your project. And folks, the reason why we're doing this is a free courses. Educating today's and tomorrow's generations of developers and builders and data scientists is central to our people-centric approach to responsible AI. Because after folks take this course, then you can understand more about where bias comes from, how to quantify and mitigate it, and have skills to detect and mitigate it. And then you can go on and teach others what you've learned. Because part of scale is how we think about what we're doing together and how we continue to push those boundaries. I also want to call out something that we're very proud of. The AWS AI ML Scholarship Program, in collaboration with Intel and Udacity. This aims to help underserved and underrepresented high school and college students learn foundational ML concepts to prepare them for careers in AI and ML. The program provides educational content with hands-on learning, career mentorship, and 2,500 scholarships annually to help folks launch their careers in tech with job-ready skills. I cannot tell you, if you've not worked with high school or uni interns, how transformational access to things like this are. Because when we talk about possible, and we talk about potential, and we reduce the barriers to entry, and we make sure that other folks not only have a seat at the table, but have the skills to execute, so much more is possible. So, we want to integrate DEI. DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I want to add in accessibility as a dimension of that. Let's talk about what that means. When we say nothing for us without us, how do you make that happen if the folks for whom you're solving problems don't have a voice in what they need, or what their challenges are, or even how they access information? Something that I hope everyone will take away and remember from this session is DEI is everyone's job. It is not only in the realm of DEI practitioners. It is broader than a job title or how we hire. DEI concepts can be embedded into our mental models and our business approaches for improved outcomes. So, the power of responsibility, it's a journey. It's not an outcome. It's not a single improvement or refinement. And when we talk about journeys, we also have to understand different folks are at different points in the spectrum on where they are in their journey. That's okay. We all want to go forward. So the first step is understanding where we are. Where do we seek to go? And then what are the challenges and the opportunities in moving forward? Integrating DEI into work streams takes commitment and resources from the top down. From the top down. I want to underscore that because this has to involve everyone. It takes accountability measures to move from tick box exercises to truly evaluating what is the impact? How is this work being adopted? How are the outcomes being evaluated? And most of all, it takes being committed to doing the work. Want to scale globally? Well, success and scale bring broad responsibility. Where are the core commonalities? Let's think about that. Understanding the problems that exist and working closely with the folks that have lived experience to validate the problems and the barriers that cause them, and developing data-driven solutions designed specifically to tear those barriers down. That kind of a framework ensures solutions are not developed or deployed in isolation, without consideration of the complex structural or systemic barriers that exist. Because when we understand those barriers and how they play out for women or underrepresented groups in and around our organizations, then we can be more intentional in our interventions for trial and scale for impact. This is the beginning. It's not the end. We keep refining. We engage a diverse set of practitioners, skill sets, and backgrounds as we craft these approaches. So let's talk about the tools and the products that they use. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce my colleague, Dia Nguyen, to the stage. Dia is amazing. She is the most humble, driven, knowledgeable colleague I've had the privilege to work with. She's a senior practice manager for AWS AI, and she leads our ML expert teams, engaging our customers with their responsible AI journey. She is integral to our work, and she's going to share what customer engagement work looks like. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Dia Nguyen to the stage.
Thank you and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for that introduction, Aileen. Aileen shared a good foundation about how we think about and approach responsible AI, and in particular, our engagement with our customers. We've been working on this for a few years, and I'm excited about the opportunity to be able to share with you what we do and the way in which we approach and think about responsible AI. That foundation that Aileen described to you was just the beginning in talking about this people-centered approach that we take, as well as this holistic approach. And over the next few slides, I'll just share a little bit more about what that looks like and the kind of things that you as an organization might be wanting to consider and think about as you take your steps in towards a responsible AI journey. Now, Aileen talked a little bit about how important it was for us to be people-centered and people-focused. And as a customer-centric company, we consider our customers as well as our people, and their people, excuse me. And we also want to be thinking about how do we align people, process, and technology to drive better outcomes and reduce the risk and mitigate any unintended impact. So when we do that, we started to work on and created a framework. This framework, you can think of it very similar to well-architected, that some of you may be familiar with as we talk about sort of the transition to the cloud. And with well-architected, the intent is that we have this structure, this foundation, with which if you follow these best practices, you are more likely to be able to obtain better value out of your cloud and your investment, right? The same is true about this framework that we've created. The intention is that with these best practices, this structure, it actually allows us to help our customers think through where there is potential risk and put the right governance structure in place in order to be able to respond to those. Now, this is a holistic approach that starts with value alignment. And value alignment is important because we want to make sure that we're thinking about what is appropriate for the organization. Does the way in which you're going to use your AI or ML align with your mission, vision, values? And in addition to that, we also need to consider whether it's going to be compliant with any regulation, any rules or policies or processes or standards even that's applicable to your industry. Next is inclusion. Now, you heard a lot from Aileen describing to you the value and importance of inclusion. And this is not just about how we look at or involve people of different backgrounds, but it's also making sure that we're infusing the perspective of that customer, because you don't want to build a product where you're only considering a small portion of the potential customers stakeholders, or individuals that might be affected by or even leverage your product. The next is training and education. And you heard Aileen give you a little bit about some of the things that we're doing at AWS in the way of investing in education and ensuring that people not only have the skills from an ML perspective, but also are looking at responsible development and building. Well, this is true as well when you start to look at how you're going to employ AI ML in your organization. You want to make sure that the right people have the right skills and are appropriately equipped to be able to understand where bias exists, or even to ask the right kind of questions as you begin to consider developing your product. Now, training and education is closely aligned to accountability. You can't actually be accountable or be responsible if you are not properly informed or educated, right? And so accountability, oftentimes people have the idea or the temptation to give AI ML more responsibility and control or agency than it should. So when we think about accountability, we're not just talking about do you have the right understanding and awareness or roles and responsibility defined, but also making sure that you're thinking about how and where human oversight needs to be considered. Transparency and explainability. This is where we get to more of the technical things, where we want to make sure that we have mechanisms in place to understand and evaluate the output of our AI systems. We want to make sure that we have a way to be able to clearly understand the decision or the predictions that are being made, and that those can be provided in some human understandable way so that people actually can make informed choices about the systems. Fairness and bias. And this essentially is making sure that we are putting in the right considerations so that we have the kind of inclusion that we were talking about earlier. Not just the involvement of people, but also making sure that our systems are not unnecessarily excluding individuals, or perhaps not considering all of the constituents that need to be involved. And so this is one of the areas where we see certain tools and systems get employed so that we can detect bias and also mitigate it. The last area of our pillar is privacy and security. And this is where we want to make sure that we are employing the right kind of tools and systems to ensure that we have a system that is secure, and we have the ability to be able to maintain integrity and trust and the protection of those that we serve, including their data. Now this framework, again, is what we have been using as a way for us to engage our customers to help them think through, is this the right problem to solve with AI? And if it is, in fact, the right problem to solve with AI, then making sure that we have all of the people, process, and tools or technology alignment that's necessary so that we have a governance structure that allows you to deliver on the outcomes that you're ultimately looking to achieve, as well as minimizing the areas of risk and unintended impact that might be there. Now, I was talking about this framework, and this framework is really central to how we engage, but you all know that we're a technology company, so we also have services and tools that can be leveraged in order to support this responsible AI journey. Now, a lot of these services are ones that you may have seen before, but there are others that are newer to our portfolio. And all of this allows you to build a trusted platform in developing in the cloud, but also having capability that supports being able to mitigate bias, understand the performance of your algorithms, to be able to look at better explainability, having the necessary transparency, and even automating where necessary your workflow and or automating involvement from a human perspective. These are services that complement the framework that we were describing. Now, I just want to talk about a couple of these services briefly here, because these are the ones that I was saying that were specifically built or designed that really support well our responsible AI journey. Now, all of those other services are part of the overall story, but these I'm going to focus on. There's a lot that's being done in the way of developing and continuing features and iteration from an Amazon SageMaker perspective to be able to have this comprehensive platform and environment to develop, to tune and to automate your models and to understand its performance and model quality. SageMaker Clarify was a service that was released back in 2020 that you probably heard quite a bit about in this area that helps us to explain machine learning models and understand where there is bias, not only in the data, from a data perspective and data preparation, but also in the models and training. And that coupled with SageMaker will allow us to be able to understand any drifts or changes in that model such that we can all continually improve and address areas of potential bias in production. And Code Whisper is a newer feature as well, or newer service. And this is a service that gives the developers code recommendations that will help them to be able to understand and detect security vulnerabilities, as well as to provide code that will filter out any toxic language or toxic code that can result in other risks that are in your product as you're developing. Now, there's one thing that I often say to folks, and I want you all to hear this as well. We talked about this holistic approach, people, process, and technology. And oftentimes we need to remind folks that responsible AI, or the ability for us to mitigate bias and ensure that we're building inclusively, is not something that we can do with technology alone. We can put in a bunch of tools, you can look at all those services, but you still need the other parts of having the processes in place, to have the right people and influencing what we're building, to infusing those perspectives. All of that is necessary in order to be able to build responsibly, inclusively. And this structure that we're talking about putting in place helps us to be able to build the organizational capabilities that you need, right? You want to be thinking about this holistically, and that process that we described helps us to be able to go along with our customers and aiding them in building that capability. Ideally, what we want to see is this organizational capability and governance structure that makes responsible AI, as Aileen said, a core part of the way in which we develop and the way in which you build. Not a separate work stream on the side, but integral into the way in which you work. So the last thing that I wanted to share with you all is we understand and recognize that responsible AI is not something that's necessarily easy. Aileen talked about being on a journey, right? A journey that we're on ourselves as well as with our customers. And we recognize that in order to be able to do that, we need to build capability and continue to partner and support, partner with our customers and support them along this journey. And so what we are excited to announce today is that we, my team and others, are going to be offering free responsible AI reviews to our customers. This is where we get to step in and help. Just like you all are familiar with well-architected and some of our well-architected reviews, a similar sort of process we go through to understand where our customers are today and then what additional capability needs to be developed and built. And then we also have a team of ML experts that assist with building that capability as well as identifying the kinds of services and tools that we looked at in order to be able to build into your organization. So for those of you that are here today and those that are watching this service, you have the expressed opportunity to be able to go to that URL and for a select period of time, schedule an assessment for us to be able to walk with you and understanding and helping you to identify and build the capability necessary. This is part of our work in not just being responsible in the terms of the way in which we build, but also helping our customers leverage our services in responsible ways. Now, I'm excited about this next piece or this next segment, the opportunity that we get to really look at examples not only of what we've been doing and the kinds of services we've been building, but also the opportunity to share what some of our customers are doing today. As we move to talk about helping our customers transform AI from theory to practice, making it integral and responsible development, integral into the way in which they work, I'm honored to be able to welcome Vipul Nagrath. He's the Senior Vice President of Product Development at ADP. And he's going to share some examples of transformation in the work that they've done building on AWS services. They're an industry leader in technology, and Vipul brings 25 years, or more than 25 years of experience in developing forward-thinking solutions. He is currently the head of product development for ADP Workforce Now, and he joined ADP in 2015 as the Global Chief Information Officer with responsibility for all of infrastructure and operations. We're delighted to have him come and share a little bit about what they've been doing in building responsibly. Would you welcome with me Vipul to the stage?
All right, so as we move on to talk about how AWS is helping customers transform from theory to practice, apologies. Now, in the past 20 years, our ability to collect, store, and process data has dramatically increased. AI and machine learning have helped us automate processes, learning things we couldn't see before, recognize patterns, and make predictions. The focus in using this technology has been on driving business decisions, but we can use this immense amount of data to do social good and to improve performance. At ADP, this is our focus. Now, ADP has one of the most comprehensive and unique HCM data sets, human capital management data sets. The scale, the breadth, and the depth of data encompasses information from the entire employee lifecycle across the world. Now at ADP, we pay 1 in 6 Americans and nearly 39 million people around the globe, including 25 million in the US. We move more than $3.1 trillion of funds annually, which is nearly about 10% of the US GDP. And it's more than just payroll. We have the industry's largest workforce data set, which is aggregated and anonymized data from our client base of more than 30+ million employees. It covers a wide range of topics from pay and HR metrics, things like compensation, overtime rates, and attrition. We use this data to provide visibility into what's happening across the world of work. Now, ADP leverages AI and machine learning in the flow of work, not just after. Machine learning models trained on our ADP data inform, improve, and enhance our products and solutions in real time. The database we use to build machine learning solutions includes data from over 1 million companies, 135,000 active executives and managers using ADP people data, and insights via mobile and web. We have 90 million unique employees paid over the last 10 years and millions of data points that inform our skills graphs. Now, while data is at the foundation of everything we do, it's the machine learning that's trained on that data that really brings our products to the next level. It helps us optimize and enhance our solutions, and our clients really feel the difference in multiple ways. The workload is reduced, so they have more time in their day to focus on what matters most. Our clients make easier, clearer, more confident decisions supported by our data and insights, and putting tools in the hands of employees to get them to thrive and do the best of their work. Now, all of this data represents stories and interactions, real ways for us to center the whole human experience in the workplace as we design and develop new tools and solutions. We have an enormous responsibility to our 1 million clients to enable the best future of work for their teams, for their leaders, and for each and every one of their employees. It is our partnership with AWS that has powered these outcomes, enabling us to use this tremendous amount of data to improve the world of work. Now, we're always looking for ways to improve our experiences in the workplace, and that means focusing on the whole human experience and all of its complexity. We know the better the experience for employees, the more engaged, then the more connected and valued these employees feel within their companies. Now, I'm going to spend a little bit of time, not too much time, talking about data governance, because I'm sure that most of you are familiar with how data should be handled. I will say that ADP takes data and data security very seriously. We have to. It's our business. It's also our middle name. We have personal records of millions of people. Our clients trust us to manage that data responsibly, and we have been doing so for over 70 years. And working with data, we've been able to apply even more rigorous standards for data privacy and security. And just a little bit about data governance. If you're sitting on a lot of data that you're eager to use to help your business, you must first put process and structure in place to protect that data. Data governance requires an organization to closely examine how data is being used and what it's being used for, who should have access to which data, how that data is connected, how to securely store and move that data, and also understand how that data could be misused. Now, we have implemented audit and risk assessments to test our ML models as the baseline of our oversight methodologies. We continue to actively monitor and improve our models and systems to ensure that changes in the underlying data or the data models themselves don't inappropriately affect their desired results. We have an active AI and ethics committee, a data ethics committee, comprised of both industry leaders as well as ADP experts across our businesses. We meet on a regular cadence. We review our design principles. The committee advises on emerging industry trends and concerns, and provides guidance with respect to their principles and how ADP should follow and what ADP should follow in developing products, systems, and applications that involve this AI and data. Now, how has AWS helped? As a data company, we need to streamline and democratize access to this data. It's how we innovate and create products in a secure manner. The Amazon API Gateway and Global Data Platform enable our tech platforms at ADP to serve up remarkable workforce data and people insights. Now, I'd like to share with you several exciting products that are driven by our immense and sophisticated HCM data running off of AWS. In today's tight labor market, employers must focus on retention. What if you could identify and retain your top performers by better understanding their compensation, their opportunity gaps, and turnover risk before they leave the company? With ADP's Career Profile tool, managers can access benchmarking data on compensation and skills to ensure that good employees with turnover risk stay with the organization. The tool even gives leaders coaching on how to work with the employee. Additionally, frequent pulse surveys give leaders real-time information on employee engagement. The Career Profile dashboard that we have provides key data and guidance for managers to focus on most critical areas first. All of this powered by benchmarking data from our ADP Data Cloud. Now, the rise of remote and hybrid work arrangements combined with this tight labor market has made it more important than ever for companies to proactively engage and listen to their employees. But empty survey tech will only get them part of the way there, and it isn't reliable. We need to avoid the garbage in, garbage out trap. So our clients need an understanding of what makes their employees happy and successful. Voice of the employee, it's a great new way, it's a great tool that we have to collect employee feedback and sentiment data. And then our clients use that data along with other ADP solutions to help take actions and drive meaningful, positive change within their organizations. With ADP's Voice of the Employee, it's easy to execute automated programs across the entire employee lifecycle because it's part of the everyday HR module. Plus, our scientifically validated and research-backed approach, an approach we use from the ADP Research Institute, it's helped make Voice of the Employee possible. The Research Institute provides insights to positively impact employee experience, culture, and ultimately performance and retention. Now, for companies that want greater insights into pay equity within their organization, we built the Pay Equity Storyboard. The storyboard itself calculates pay equity gaps for different groups using a company's own data as well as compensation benchmarks across 9,000 jobs that we track. It's a complex issue, but it's a way for people to see their situation, analyze the data, and make appropriate changes within their own specific organization. Now, we're still in the early adoption phase of this, but we've already seen some pretty amazing results, and here they are. So we've had over 1,000 companies use the Pay Equity Storyboard, with 75% of them showing positive improvement. On average, each of these companies had a $1.4 million impact, which translated to a per employee impact of about $5,000. In total, this has been aggregated and it equates to over $1.1 billion returned to communities. So the impact of this and the impact that it's had on people's lives has been amazing to see, and it's real. Our partnership with AWS has enabled us, ADP, to develop these solutions quickly and with full confidence in the integrity of the data and the processes. Now with that, I want to welcome Aileen back on the stage.
Thank you so much. This has been a really exciting hour. We've learned about tools, we've learned about free access to training, evaluations, and we've seen what happens when you put theory into practice and what a difference that makes for communities. So let's come back to where we started. The power of responsibility. It is upon all of us to work together to make a difference. It is upon all of us to build and earn that trust. Because trust, folks, that is integral to moving forward and having a people-centric approach where we're really thinking about who are all those people at the table. How have we created opportunities? And how are we not only listening to what they have to say, but making sure that they're empowered to make decisions? Trust in the people, the process, and the veracity of the data. The ML operating model enables or positions organizations to build operational capability. Think about that. Operational capabilities. This isn't just some POC off somewhere. To inclusively innovate. Together, we get different and better results. To increase adoption, and absolutely to have appropriate governance, and to manage risks. So I want us to think about the virtuous cycle, because this is where everyone, we started with people and trust. When we're developing people, resources, and skills, when we're building that kind of operational capability, when we're driving inclusive innovation, we're accelerating business adoption. We also need to make sure we're instituting appropriate governance structures and aligning AI risk management with broader efforts. I want you all to think about what this means as we start to do this at scale. This is the power of the possible. This is the power of responsibility. And again, I challenge every single one of you to join us on this journey to move forward and to think about how we can push those boundaries of what we're doing in terms of equity, accessibility, and fairness. And to remember, above all, it's driven by people. So now, I hope you will all go build. Thank you for the privilege of your time this afternoon.